Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's video 44 coming into another video. Yeah, it's frustrating on my end, but I did an entire Utah Jazz video. I thought it fully uploaded, threw it in the trash, balled it up, erased it, and it hadn't fully uploaded. I don't know why it didn't upload. I uploaded it yesterday. Today is when I did this, but it says it's gone, so I'm gonna try to do it again. To be honest with you, Utah is one of the easier teams to do because I didn't have to really do a whole lot of homework. It's basically about the vets on this squad. So there were a lot of teams, a lot of players on the back of the bench, guys in the second round, stuff like that, that I'm not familiar with, that I didn't do homework with, and I didn't do homework on those guys in this video either. So just bear with me, and we'll try to break down the roster and get you on your way. So, all right, Utah Jazz. When you're talking about the Utah Jazz, essentially you want to start off by saying Donovan Mitchell's name. You got to talk about Donovan Mitchell in this era. Essentially one of the best two guards in basketball, especially on the offensive end. He's super athletic, scorer, somebody that you can trust in the playoffs. He had a great show with Jamal Murray 2 years back in the playoffs. Even Jamal Murray was dropping 50 like it was 20. It was beautiful. So at this point in time, you're just looking for Donovan Mitchell to continue doing more of the same, providing athleticism, ball handling, pick and roll ability, shooting, just about everything you would want your superstar guard to do. He's capable. I imagine you best consider him a score first guard, but he can create for others if necessary, although it's not as necessary on this team in this role. But all in all, he's a part of a system, and he's the head of the snake, more or less, in my opinion, especially offensively. You want to put the ball in his hands and allow him to go as much as possible. And with this team, he is definitely with that as a part of his role. So you got to love it for Donovan Mitchell, runner-up for Rookie of the Year a couple years back, came out the gate as somebody you knew you should not have passed on in the draft. So when you talk about Donovan Mitchell, you considering that he's going to continue to be an all-star going forward. He's going to continue to be one of the best two guards out there. So next up, let's move on. Let's get to Rudy Gobert, one of the longest armed players in all of basketball. One of the best defensive minds in all of basketball. You have to deal with Rudy Gobert because he is so active with his hands, and those hands are able to reach things that most humans just simply can't. So lots of teardrops, lots of block shots, stuff like that. You have to shoot teardrops over this guy or he's going to block your shot. It's simply what I'm saying to you. Definitely somebody who has become very reliable. He hasn't been hurt in a while and signed a Supermax this offseason. I think they're very happy with him. Although he's the type of player that doesn't shoot the ball at all from behind the arc, it really does not matter because within this system, it allows for that. It allows for a center to be in the paint, and they have superior shooting all the way around the roster to make it all make sense. It's sort of like the Dwight Howard in Orlando thing where they start inside and go out. And, the center's tasked with playing defense and dunking the ball, and the rest is on the guards and the forwards to shoot the ball and do the stuff that they're supposed to do. This system is similar to that. And Rudy Gobert really does a fantastic job at fitting in and dominating defensively for this team and rebounding as well. So, next name up, Mike Conley. Now, Mike Conley's a player who played with the Memphis Grizzlies, famous for being a part of that grit and grind era. He was the point guard for that team. A real technician with the basketball, mid-range guy, pick you apart, finishes well, excellent free throw shooter, just an all-around technician offensively with the ball. Can speed run. He's had some years where he kind of disappeared, maybe a couple injuries here and there, but overall he's one of the more reliable guys in the league. If I'm not mistaken, he made his first all-star team last year, but we all know that he's been an all-star level player the entire time. This is somebody you can trust. This is somebody who complements what they do. Kind of had a bad start with the Jazz, but overall was able to show them near the end of the season that he was somebody you can count on. So I like Mike Conley on this team. I think that the adjustment from him leaving Memphis, having been there for so long to get to, and then coming to Utah was more difficult than expected in terms of what his production ended up being. Slow to kind of incorporate himself into what it is that they do, but now that he's done that, I think he has a big season ahead of him. This is going to be a very good season for Mike Conley. This is a very good team. So let's keep it going. Next name up, Jordan Clarkson, JC, Laker kid. Definitely somebody I've been following since the beginning of his career. He was drafted to the Washington Wizards. Lakers traded for him. He was in the second round, back of the second round. Lakers traded for him. I think it was like $1 million cash considerations or something like that. We took him back and developed him, and he did a fantastic job for the Lakers early on, just being basically somebody who could finish at the rim, draw fouls very well, slash, athletic, fast, young, youthful, type of guy that you needed at the time when the Lakers were just beginning their youth movement. He was the first piece. I remember telling my mom about that, or talking to my mom during the game, stating to her that, JC's the first, but he won't be the last. We got a lot of kids coming because we're in this rebuild situation. And sure enough, we had a team full of youngsters after that. But I tell you, JC was the first, and he was definitely very, very, very good for us. Not a defensive player at the time, but he has developed a great deal since leaving the Lakers. He's played in the NBA Finals with LeBron James, played in this Utah system now for a couple years. And if I'm not mistaken, he was very close to winning that. Did he win it? I think he might have won Sixth Man of the Year just now. He might be the reigning Sixth Man of the Year. I got to check that. But he was definitely up for running for that. And this is somebody who's developed so well at what it is that he does. Just a better version of what it is I've already described. Finisher. He can shoot the ball a lot better than he used to. He has turned into a very, very dominant scorer from the backup shooting guard, point guard position. So I'm happy with his development. I think he fits perfectly on this team. They don't have a lot of athleticism, a lot of wiggliness, so to speak. And what JC does, along with Donovan Mitchell, is give them that open court threat with their guards. Gives them that opportunity to play a faster pace than they otherwise would be able to. So, very, very important piece to what they do. JC. Next up, Derrick Favors. And the reason why I listed Derrick Favors so early in this conversation is because he, if I'm not mistaken, is now in his third tenure with the Utah Jazz or second tenure with the Utah Jazz, but he's been, with the Jazz for extended times more than once. And his role is pretty much the same as it's always been. Although there are people ahead of him now, he's not a starting power forward for this team, but he will play power forward, he will play center, and he'll rotate to kind of help Gobert and do some of the things that Gobert does. He also can play with Gobert, which is really cool because they did that in their first tenure quite a bit, and they're just a heck of a shot blocking tandem. Derrick Favors has very long arms, even though he's not overly tall for his center position. His length allows him to be a devastating defender. So this is somebody that I've definitely trusted in terms of having him down there as a big body who can be repeatedly effective in the paint, scoring the ball, and somebody who can be a good rebounder and shot blocker on your team. At this stage in the game, I don't think his role is going to be as big as it has been in the past. But I do believe that his role will still be to rotate between power forward and center. So we'll see how they use him. Next up, Bojan Bogdanovic. Guy who played with the Indiana Pacers, one of the more consistent Groundhog Day performers. He'll give you the same thing over and over again if you give him the same amount of minutes. Very, very, very consistent. Shooter, somebody who I think on this team kind of has more guys that do what he does, and he's just one of many pieces, as opposed to somebody with the Pacers who was kind of more in a condensed small forward space where he was constantly asked to kind of be a consistent scorer, a consistent shooter, that kind of thing. This team's more so about, okay, we need what you do, but we also have some other guys. So just kind of come in, do what it is you do, give us what we need, and then go sit back down. So it's a lesser role, but it's still just as important because for what Quinn Snyder wants the Utah Jazz to be, they need shooters like Bogdanovic who can constantly and consistently hit that. So next up, Joe Ingles, same type of deal. Guy out of Australia who's made his name for himself going up against Paul George and winning that battle in the playoffs. Joe Ingles is somebody who's very, very, very crafty, expert type of player who is probably going to be able to play the same way 15, 20 years from now, no matter what gym he's in. He's just an expert. He's one of those guys where he's a gamer, you know what I mean? You put him out there and he may play and give you 8 points. He may play and give you 25, 30 points. But one thing's for certain, he's going to be active. He's going to have the ball in his hands at times, and he's going to create for himself and others. He's also going to be crafty on the defensive end, a lot better defensively than you would expect. Sneaky, athletic type of guy. Get to the rim. You'd be like, what the heck? How do you, and he will score on you. And he's a physical guy as well for his position. I've seen him bang with people. I've seen him bounce off screens and stuff like that. He's a very active guy when put in actions that require him to be that. So I'm bigger on Joe Ingles than the role that they actually have him in, to be honest with you. I think he could do a little more than they asked him to do. But all in all, He's a guy that they just have in their rotation that they can just, like Bojan, just ask to shoot threes. Just stand out there and be in position to catch and shoot. And he's good at that. So that's going to be the basis of what they asked him to do. Next up, Rudy Gay. Now, Rudy Gay is a guy who, of course, started his career with Memphis. Like his other homie, Mike Conley, who I think probably helped him get here. Almost made all-star teams throughout his career, but I don't think he ever actually made one. But we know, like Conley, that he was part of that grit and grind early on, even though he was traded early in that tenure. But ultimately, he was a part of that beginning. And, Rudy Gay is a good player. He's been good for a long time. He's overly athletic. You know that. Even now, I'm sure you can dunk on your head. But he's had some injuries, so it's slowed him down a little bit, long in the tooth at this point. So he's not looking to take on big roles or anything like that. If anything, he's just coming to a system that works. Because I've always thought he was a much better shooter than he was ever asked to be. He was a guy who could put the ball on the floor, do a lot of stuff, dunk on you and all that wonderful stuff. But just from behind the arc, he always had fantastic form, and he seemed to be very consistent shooting the ball. And now that his athleticism is not where it was, now that the role ain't what it used to be, coming to a system like this, where all you're really going to be asked to do is shoot the ball, play a little defense, that's ideal for a guy like Rudy Gay. He's at a point in his life where he can shoot the ball with ease. So, this is the type of system where if you're a shooter, this is where you want to be. Because all they want to do is shoot the ball. That's literally all they want to do. They can give it to Donovan Mitchell. He's going to do some things, kind of take it off the dribble, dunk on somebody. JC will take it off the dribble. They'll throw it down to Rudy Gobert at times. Most of his points coming off offensive rebounds and stuff like that, putbacks. The rest of this team is essentially asked to shoot. Just light up a three-point shot. So guys who are out there, I think of a guy like Kevin Love who may be asking for a buyout at some point, even though he doesn't want one now. He could end his career in Utah and actually be effective because all he had to do is shoot. That's it. So anyway, that's what I think Rudy Gay is going to be able to do there. Next name I want to mention is Hassan Whiteside. He's going to help with the rotation of centers who don't shoot, but can definitely block shots, rebound, and do all the stuff that Rudy Gobert does. So he and Derrick Favors will provide a great deal of size for this team at that center spot. We know Hassan Whiteside started his career with the Miami Heat. Kind of had some maturity issues, as reported, but was a guy who could always put up superior center numbers on any given day. 10 blocks, 15 rebounds, 20 points. He was capable of doing games like that, but they didn't always come around. And so it's one of those situations where he's kind of found himself around the league, kind of bouncing around a little bit. And it's interesting because he initially started off as a guy who was underrated, you know what I mean? And then made a huge name for himself and then kind of fell back into that same value in the end. So it's kind of strange how his journey has been, but he's still in this league. And right now he's got a good role with a winning team. And has had some good years. He played a good year with Portland, played a good year with Sacramento. So this is 2 good years in a row for him where he's just kind of been a role player, asked to be what it is that he is. And he did a good job. So he's earned his way to the situation, and I think it's a good one. I don't know if they're going to ask him to do a whole lot because this is Gobert's front court. But Hassan will have his opportunities for sure. Next up, Eric Paschall. Eric Paschall is an interesting player for this roster because he gives them a certain level of versatility at that center position, power forward position, that they otherwise wouldn't have. He can stretch the floor, and he's a big body who can do some of those things. Now, he's not a shot blocker. I think he's more of a traditional forward. But if for some reason they're going up against small ball lineups and they want to be able to kind of stretch the floor a little more than what Gobert normally would give them, now they have this dynamic in place where Eric Paschall can put the ball in the hoop from behind the arc and give them a little more versatility. I really like this player out of Golden State. He kind of made a name for himself during the time when Golden State wasn't very good, when they were trying to figure out what was next after the injury and after to Clay and, of course, KD departing to Brooklyn. So Eric Paschall, along with several other guys, were able to make names for themselves and raise their value to a point where other teams would want them. And now I'd say Eric Paschall's in a very good position as a backup. Backup? Yeah, certainly backup power forward. Actually, it's not certain. There are scenarios where I could totally see him playing himself into a starting role with looking at this roster. But I would imagine they're going to start the season with him backing up. And, I think this is a good situation for Eric Paschall, man. I really do. I like the fact that they don't have too many power forwards on this team. I like the fact that they don't have too many people on the team that does what he does from his position. This is a good space for him to continue to show that he can shoot, of course. And, he's a rebounding guy. Rebound and one, that kind of dude. Get to the line, draw the foul. But what makes him special is his ability to stretch the floor some for this particular roster, because that's what they want him to do. So, next up, Royce O'Neal. Now, Royce O'Neal's a guy who's been with the Utah Jazz the entire time. I think he's been in the league probably for about 5 years now. Had some pop as a rookie, somebody who could put the ball on the floor and kind of move as a guard, as a power forward body. So he has unique skills that also help this team. Also a defensive player, somebody who you could put on a good guy and get some success and maybe slowing him down some. Just a player I like a lot. As I said, can stretch the floor a little bit, put the ball on the floor, do things like that. I thought he would take a bigger jump. His development hasn't brought him to the tier that I thought his potential showed in the past. But for what it is that the Utah Jazz do, he fits right in, and it looks like he has a home here. I can totally see him being a Utah Jazz lifer. This got that kind of vibe to it. So Royce O'Neal is a very versatile player. He's a guy you can put in pretty much any position. And be comfortable. So I don't know what his role will be. He might be a guy that they might want to start at the 4 spot as well. So they'll battle it out. They'll have their options there. Next up, Ersan Ilyasova. Ersan Ilyasova is a shooter. Played most of his career with the Milwaukee Bucks. And although I don't know as much about him because I've seen him sparingly, over the years he's done some good things against my team, that's for sure. I've seen him have big games against the Lakers. Score the ball. Strong power forward, strong-minded, someone who's going to come in ready no matter how long it takes for him to get his next opportunity. You can call his number. He's going to be ready. So just a reliable guy in this league at this point that once again, can shoot the ball, fits in the system absolutely and utterly perfectly. Probably will not be playing too much, but if for some reason they need him, they will have another shooter out there. So that's fantastic for this roster. And here's a player, Udoka Azubuike, another center who can do what it is that those guys can do. I'm not sure if he stretches the floor. I'm just ignorant in this regard. Didn't do homework on Udoka, but I've seen him play with a lot of energy. So that much I can tell you. He's a big body with a lot of energy. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's known for his shot blocking too, but don't quote me on that. I have to go check on that. So there's some guys here, as I said, back of the bench guys I'm not really familiar with. But they are here. Maybe they'll get an opportunity. Jarrell Brantley, Trent Forrest, and Juwan Morgan. Let's see. And, of course, they have some rookies and some guys on the back that I want to also throw in here as well. The national title winner, Jared Butler from Baylor, is on this team. They got him with the 40th pick this year. Maye Oni, 6'5" shooting guard out of Yale, right? Ivy Leaguer. And he's also a LA native. He was taken with the 58th pick at the shooting guard spot. Elijah Hughes, 39th pick out of Syracuse, 6'5" guard. And Maceo Teague, a 6'4" point guard out of Baylor, who went undrafted but lands with the Jazz. So that is the roster as I have it written down. Of course, things are subject to change. This kind of went smoother than the last video because I've already done the video. But I do appreciate you guys being patient with me and allowing me to get all this out. My intention is to get to every single team, and I plan on doing just that. Gotten to half of them thus far. Just to summarize everything with the Utah Jazz, at the end of the day, it's all about the system. They can pick and plug players from anywhere all over the league and still run the same stuff and still have similar results. It's just that type of situation. Quinn Snyder has that lock and key. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as they continue to retool, they can stay in the mix in the Western Conference for as many years as they continue to do this. This system is not going to go away. You don't necessarily need non-shooting centers to run it. You can use a guy like Karl Towns or Joel Embiid or somebody in this system, and they'll flourish just as well, if not better. So the fact that they prioritize the three-point shooting and shot blocking areas of basketball just let me know that they're serious about winning, because those are two things you definitely need to do, along with rebounding the ball, of course. But they do have that shooting aspect down pat. Can they fall in love with the three too much? It's possible, but they're designed to, so you feel good about it. It's not like they're just jacking up threes. Their whole system is about that. What I want to see them do is get themselves a high-powered small forward. Someone who can do similar stuff that Donovan Mitchell can do so they can have another wiggly, high-powered athlete that can kind of improvise some things when the system gets figured out. Somebody, a T-Mac type, to throw on top of what they have to make this team unstoppable. Because right now, they are not as agile in the small forward positions as I'd like them to be. And if you got a team that is very good at defending the three-point line and they have a center that can really keep up with Rudy Gobert, they're probably going to beat the Utah Jazz. It's just a limit on what it is they can do because they are really stuck in that system. But if you get enough JCs, enough Donovan Mitchells out there, when the system blows up, you're still getting quality possessions. When it's time to just abandon the system altogether, you're still getting a guy that can drop 35, 40 points on you from that position. And it's going to be agile and fast enough, that kind of thing, to just get up and down the open court and create opportunities that they otherwise won't have on this team right now. So I think they can live without it, to be honest with you. I think they'll be just fine without that dynamic right now. But if they want to win a championship, that's what I think is missing right now. So maybe I don't know how they would get that, get lucky somehow, I don't know. But a Brandon Ingram type, Jalen Green type, that's for the moon. But you want to try to land one of those guys, something like that rather, so that you can have the dynamic that I think that they're missing. But yeah, everything else looks pretty good. I think this is a top 5 Western Conference team. I got them getting to the second round, probably getting knocked off by Denver or the Lakers or something like that. But they're going to be in the mix. They're going to be amongst contending teams. And anything less than that would be a big-time disappointment. Obviously, everything is health permitting, But as a fully healthy Utah Jazz team, they should be able to get top 5 status in the West. So that's what I got, man. Kind of safe. I know. I don't think they're going to win a championship. So I'm leaving a lot of room because there's a lot more studying to do on my part. But as far as I can tell with what the homework I've done right now, they're still amongst the best teams. And they have been together longer than a lot of teams in the West, too. So that should play in their favor. So that's what I got, man. Thank you guys for watching. My name is BDL44. Have a great season, Utah. Peace.